Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming to the meeting. We have an agenda, item 2, in the executive session scratch for tonight. So we're going to go to item number 1 to consider approving the minutes of the June 14th meeting. Motion we accept. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Thank you. Item 3, property tax discussion with Nicole.
It's your favorite assessor, back again. So Christine and I have been crunching numbers galore and getting everything ready for commitment this year. I am this close to being able to commit. Really the only thing left for us to do is what the TIP is gonna do. And then the other thing we have to discuss tonight is really increasing assessments. So my recommendation is that we increase, do some factoring this year. We are at 72% based on the last state valuation. They said you're at 72. But in reality, that was 20 to 21 sales. So that last half of 20 and the beginning of 2021. We are vastly below that now. I would say if I was to venture a guess, we would be 60% right now. Maybe lower, to be honest. Things are selling for amazingly crazy values. My fear is if we don't do something this year, we're gonna be in a situation next year where we have to make huge changes. And I don't wanna lay it all on taxpayers all at once. With the way that the budget has worked this year with the extra money from fund equity that was required to be put in, I think it's a good year to do this, because when you look at the net to be raised, the net to be raised is almost the exact same amount as last year. So the net to be raised by the property tax. I have crunched a lot of numbers in the last 2 weeks. Ellen and I have discussed a couple of different situations, but I'll just tell you, first of all, if we were to stay still now, there would be an increase on homestead properties almost exclusively. And that's because at 72, I'm allowed to certify 78. I have to bring CMP down to 78 because I can't treat them at 100 and everybody else be at 78%. I have to bring CMP down. I have to bring all the personal property down to 78% instead of 100. Well, we were at 96 last year, so instead of 96%, we have to bring that all down. So we're losing. The values of those are less. And so when you work it all out, and also the homestead exemption drops from 24,000, which it was last year at 96%, to 19,500. So when all of that works out, it's really almost exclusively on homestead owners, and it's going to be $80 probably for each and every homestead owner. And those businesses that just have personal property are going to pay less than they did last year. Ellen and I have discussed a couple of different things. I think the one we were kind of looking for is to do a 10% increase on land values and a 20% increase on building values for the year. That increases our total taxable valuation quite a bit, by about $100 million. And it would drop our mill rate in the end. We would be right at, we would be at 95% instead of 96 like we were this year. I'd be allowed to certify that. So the homestead would drop just slightly, I think by $50. And the mill rate would come down to something around 14.5 ish, kind of in that range of 14.5. I did run for you guys, just so you know, a couple of different scenarios on just like homes. So one on Oakland Drive, their taxes would be, and it's, let me say that it's dependent on the TIP and how much money goes into the TIP, because we'll have an increment in the downtown TIP if we increase values. But the mill rate will drop, so the other TIPs will have less money in them this year. So there will be, I don't know exactly how that, until you know what your mill rate is going to be, it's very hard to calculate those kind of things. But I believe that like a house on Oakland Drive, I think they would get a $25 to $30 increase instead of a $75 increase. And then I did one on Allagash and it was just about the same. So I don't think it would be very much, if any. And again, that depends on what that mill rate really does when we have all of the data in. it could be even less than that, so. But my advice is that we do something this year, especially if we think that next year there won't be as much wiggle room in the budget, because if we're going to have to raise more money and also raise values next year, it's almost the perfect storm to have it be much worse. With all those numbers, does anyone have questions?
Yeah, thank you for all those numbers, that's wonderful. It's hard to conceptualize how that is. Can you take like a $200,000
The one
piece of property that's, and tell us?
So the one on Oxen Drive is just about, it's just under, it's 199,300 that I did. So last year their taxes were $3,015 and some cents. And with where I think we'll end up with around, their taxes be $3,044.
Okay, and if you had a business, the businesses are all taxed at 90 something,
Well.
or not all businesses?
No, not their buildings. Right, so when I say that we have to drop, it's the personal property right now, it's at 96%. So with the new one, they would drop to, that's the ratio we use to it. Now it depends what they have for property, what it actually is assessed at. But if we do nothing, those are gonna drop, because we have to drop those with the same ratio that we're certifying everybody else at. But
So
like
they're
you can
currently
see,
at 90
currently at
some,
96. and they would be
96,
at
and you'd have to bring them down to,
95 in this one, if we did the changes.
Right, if we did.
But the mill rate
70.
would drop significantly, so they might still see a decrease.
then I lost you. If, right now, it's
right.
at 72%,
Right.
and you wanna go to
78.
78 or 78. Okay, so that's, you're going up to 78, but the business equipment tax, the property tax is not coming down to 78%.
The value would have to come down to 78, but currently, if we, right now, we'd stay at the same mill rate we're at right now. So they would see a reduction, and then that reduction for all of those is basically put on the rest of the tax base, and then if you're not getting a reduction, it's put on here.
In other words, we're in a position where we actually have to increase our values to keep our taxes flat because of the homestead. And we're losing all that value of the homestead and the personal property taxes.
So if you do this increase, then the homestead will still go down to like 19 or?
No, the homestead will go like $50 down, so instead of 24,000, I think it's at 23,750 or $250 or something like that, so it's very close. It's very close.
At the town meeting, I mentioned that that's the loose cannon. You know, the homestead exemption was the wild card here, where it's gonna go. And she's worked so hard at this, you know, trying to, I mean, we came down with 25% increase. I mean, so there's been numbers bounced all over the place here. And it seems to be a really strong road that we can start making some movement and take this thing up by this time.
So this isn't an assessment of people's properties. This is just the value we're gonna increase.
This is not a revaluation,
Right.
so we are not going out and looking at every single property and. But it is just a factoring of the value that is there now. So let's say you were valued at, I'm gonna make it easy, $100,000 on your building last year. This year, it would be at $120,000. And if your land was at $50,000, it would be at $55,000. We were doing 10% on land and 20% on buildings.
But your taxes owed to the town is really not gonna change much.
And even because the mill rate's going to drop so much because of the play with, you increase value that much and your mill rate drops. If you just have raw land and we're only increasing land by 10%, well, the mill rate's gonna drop more than 10%. And so it's really a tax reduction for them.
And for the town of Oakland to come in with a mill rate of 14.5, that's what people understand. It's a huge arrow in that quiver.
So if the argument is to get the 78% for buildings, like, why do you pick that instead of 74 or 84?
So no, if we did the changes based on the sales that we're looking at, so we're looking at sales that are 2 years old. So if I did these changes at one, if I did the 20% on buildings and the 10% on land, we're actually gonna come in with those sales at 86%. Because I'm allowed to certify 10% more than that, we'll be allowed to certify 95. So that's. I think we have to make a step this year. Because if we don't make a step next year, we have to next year, because we'll be below 70 guaranteed next year in our state valuation, and that's the minimum standard is 70, so we'll have to do something next year. And I think to take smaller chunks of the apple would probably be better than to do a large increase all at once.
So to get the full homestead exemption, you've gotta go up this amount that you said.
We still won't get the full homestead
Well,
exemption.
I mean, we'll be closer then.
We'll be closer, we'll be a lot closer, so it would be 23,750 instead of the 25, and we were at 24 this year already, so. It's much closer than what we would be getting as a 19.5 if we do nothing.
I don't know if you guys remember, but Kathy Gagan used to make these small adjustments. I think we've got records of that back in early 2000s. So she would make a 5% or 10% adjustment values where she was getting out of whack. And that's how we avoided doing the rebound so long, because these adjustments were made. And Nicole and I had talked about these adjustments for the last year. You were indecisive if that's the direction you're gonna go, but really, we're pushed into it. We have to make that decision.
But basically, we've said how much money we're gonna spend next year at our budget session, so. If the rates go up on everybody's property, the mill rates should go down.
Yeah.
Almost equal, and so everybody should end up paying very close to the same taxes they did before.
With some exceptions, but yes, it should be.
Yeah, I mean,
Depending on what, the homestead exemption is really that thing that falls in there, right? Because if we do nothing, it has to, that homestead comes down and you lose money automatically without doing anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And there are other balls in the air with state government and what they're doing, perhaps with a circuit breaker, bringing back a circuit breaker.
Yep.
That went away, and this freezing of the property taxes, which looks like it's going away, or it's, I'm not sure that.
I mean, it's here for this year, so we're dealing with it this year. Essentially, what will happen is our tax bills will be something less than what we actually need to raise, and then the state will reimburse that for us for this year, because it exists and it's not going anywhere this year, but yeah.
That's right, because it was April.
Yeah.
First, yes.
so that stabilization thing is still in effect for
It
this
is
year.
still in effect, so people that are 65, even if it would have increased, they're not going to increase theirs if they applied for it and been accepted.
So we all have to go in and apply for that again this year.
We think so, unless the program goes away, so.
I know the legislature's been throwing that
Yeah.
around for months now, but
I think parts of it, at least, I think it's partially gonna go away. For next year's filing,
Mhm.
but they don't know what.
I'm sure a lot of people are confused about that, so we probably ought to try to get the word out if everybody's gonna sign up for that again this year.
Well, it was wildly popular, as you know.
It was
and it-
absolutely wild. We spent a
they-
We've
lot.
actually had a lot of people in, already asking for the applications to apply for this year. And we're just telling them that we really aren't sure what this program is gonna do for next year, and we don't have applications. So to check back with us after they get their tax bills this year.
We have until later than to do it,
December 1st is the
Oh.
filing date that was this past
so we
filing
can get
date.
the word out to the townspeople
Yeah.
if in fact they have to do something.
And there's a lot of heartburn in Augusta about. The tail, which is tens of millions of dollars in the out years for the state. And on the other hand, it is really popular, and I don't wanna have to go tell elderly people, all deals off now.
Yeah.
That doesn't set well, so we're not sure what's gonna happen. But something.
Anybody else have any other questions?
We need a motion, or-
No, she's.
No, it's
she's
discussion
in charge-
only.
She's in charge of this one, we're just.
I just wanted to, yeah, give you guys a brief.
Anybody out there have a question that you'd like to have her answer while she's here? We get the brains of the operation here. Thank you.
Awesome.
Keep us informed.
Yes,
Thank you for the hard work.
thanks. I'll definitely keep you informed after we commit where we ended up.
outstanding work. I feel so much more secure with you in that driver's seat. It's really, it's a breath of fresh air, so thank you.
I think we have to keep the public up to date on this too, so they know what we're up to here. And what's
I
happening,
got an idea there'd be something in the paper about it.
you never know.
What makes sense?
We don't know yet. Nothing's committed yet. Don't tell us.
There's nothing else, we're going to item 4. To purchase a new hay mulcher. Thank you, ladies, for
Thank you.
coming in.
So I sent you some paperwork out on 3 mulchers that Jeff has been researching on. He's interested in buying the least expensive one, which is under $10,000. What happened was 3 years ago, somebody got down into the public works garage and they stole the motor off the mulcher that we
Oh,
had.
is that right?
And they did quite a number to it, and so what Jeff did was he found a motor that would work, but where they cut the shaft on it, it was a real hard job putting it all together, so it's never been right. And the mulcher that they had was just, it was antiquated, and we've had it for 30 years or so. And he's got so much work, ditching and other work that has to be done this year, that's almost a critical component, because if he doesn't have the mulcher, then he has to take those bale days, spread them all out, this thing just shoots it on the ground.
Yeah.
So we have 2 pots of money that we can take this from. He actually has about $20,000 left over in his equipment expense, that, the capital improvement. And that was for equipment that we've actually bought for less than what we paid for, so there's about 20,000 there, we can certainly take it out of that, that's already been approved to spend by the town meeting and by the budget advisory committee, and we also have the KMD money that we've been using lately, and I personally, if the council sees fit that we should buy this piece of equipment, I would recommend taking it out of this equipment money.
Yeah. Anybody got any question on that?
Motion.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we purchase the blower and they find the money wherever it seems fit.
Out of his equipment. Yeah. Budget.
Second,
All those in favor?
Thank you, Bill.
And I think there's a lot of regulations now on how soon they have to put that hay out after they do some ditching or something. I think they're supposed to cover it up that day, aren't they?
Yeah, Jeff's in a hurry.
Yeah.
He's on vacation for this week and next week, so we'll get it taken care of by the time he gets back. He'll have to sit up there waiting for
Item 5, vote to accept a $10,000 anonymous donation to complete the Pleasant Point Park Playground.
him. Yeah, we received another $10,000 and I just need to get approval, and that covers the entire cost of the work that we've done out there.
That will finish off the cost.
It's finished other than the fence, and I'm not sure that I even want to go with that. We'll see where it goes.
I move we accept the money.
All those in favor? Approve?
Can we just put a sign out there on the equipment that it gets hot in the sun?
That's not a bad idea. We're not completely done with
It gets,
it.
I've heard that it gets really hot in the
Yeah,
sun.
it's right out in the sun.
Yeah,
It's getting,
just some kind of warning. It's getting a lot of use from what I understand.
yeah, I've gone out there and seen several people on it. Yeah, that's a good idea, though.
Item 5, item 6, vote to appoint Dave Savage as an alternate planning board member to replace Mark Stevens.
Mark Stevens has stepped down. Dave Savage is available. He would bring a lot of experience to the table for planning board, and we'd love to see him on.
Make a motion, we appoint the board.
All those in favor? I know a manager has a couple things, at least one in a way you wanted to bring up to us tonight.
So we kind of broke the water on that a little earlier. We've been talking about this Monday, that, we're gonna have a situation where new registration is probably not gonna be able to happen because of, state being closed. As I mentioned to you, we've got the new schedule with the town office where we're closed on Fridays, and we have, that's that Friday on Thanksgiving week is actually paid holiday staff. So I'm asking that, if you feel that it's something that you can tolerate, for us to allow our staff to take Monday off in lieu of that. And then we'll have to figure out how we're gonna move forward year after year. I gave some quick thought to your comment about, transfer station day. What we do with them
I mean,
is,
it's not just, before we go too far into it, it's not just them, it's like everybody that works
Right.
there.
Right. Typically, when we have a paid holiday and they have to work it, they get that as comp time. And so they can take that day, and the transfer station does the same thing. So if they're, I believe on the transfer station, we shut down Thanksgiving Day and Friday. They get that 2 days off as well. Is that correct, Kathy? Yeah, I believe so that's not gonna be an issue with them there. But with this new schedule of the town office, it is going to be something, and it's already been brought up, we talked about it, so. And what I would recommend on the town office situation is to, let them comp that day and take it when they need, so it'd be a floating holiday, like Kelly said. Public Works Garage, not an issue, because they take the Thursday and Friday off. The police department, they have their contract, and paid holidays that they have in their contract are comp that they have to work it, just like what we've always done. Fire department, I would assume that would be the same situation that we do over there. I haven't really talked with Dave about the Thursday, Friday thing. But I think, in AJ's crew, same thing, Thursday and Friday. So really, the only department that we're gonna see that's not gonna benefit from that extra paid holiday, which is Friday, would be the town office. And this year would be an easy solution just to shut down on Monday. Everybody's assuming that we're gonna be shut down on always. So that's my thought on it, and you all have been so gracious and generous with time that I'm not gonna push this issue. This is in your corner, and I'm just feeding you the information that I've got.
And I think you said the state was closed down Monday, so you can't do registrations on new vehicles.
If anybody had a question, we could not call the state.
I'd make a motion, we close down Monday.
Second. It doesn't really. Tell me again about the people, like the crew that work, always has Thursday and Friday off.
So,
How does? Will they get another day?
no, they will still get Thursdays and Fridays off, and they'll get paid for Thursdays and Fridays off. But where the town office crew now takes Fridays off, they're working at 40 hours from Monday through Thursday. And they're losing that paid holiday, which is on a Friday after Thanksgiving. So we'll be closed Thursday.
So the road crew doesn't lose a holiday because of the Thursday app, because they don't work.
They work 5 days.
They-
The road crew, the only time they work in 4 and 3s is during the summer months. They work longer hours during the day, so that they're out of the heat. So what they do is they shut down on Fridays. We've been doing that for years with them. But I think it's in October, they go back to a five-day schedule. And so on Thanksgiving week, they'll have Thursday off and Friday off for the holidays.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yep, sounds okay to me, we're not really given,
No, we're not giving
We're not
anybody any
giving
more
them.
than everybody else is getting. I mean, it's just, if we don't do something, then the town office crew is gonna lose a paid holiday. They're gonna work at 40 hours Monday and Thursday, and they're gonna lose that second paid holiday, which is Friday, because they get it off anyways.
All those in favor? Opposed? There's the vote. Ella, are you gonna bring us, everybody up to date on the Route 23 yellow light?
Yeah, so Dana asked me a week ago, I guess, to do the research on the crashes that we've been having at Fairfield Street, Gagnon Road intersection. Dave and I know that that's a high crash area. We handled many crashes there ourselves. And so I reached out to Dave. Well, actually, we reached out to state police first, and we got crash summary report that you have in front of you. And it shows that over the past 10 years, we've had 21 crashes. And many of them involve PI, personal injury. Fortunately, knock on wood, we haven't had any fatalities yet. But I think that that's just a matter of time before that happens. Why it hasn't happened now is beyond me. Dana and I went to a KV Cog annual meeting yesterday. And we're both chatting about this because I forgot to give him this paperwork. And as we're going down Fairfield Street, getting ready to go up over the hill, one of the residents was standing out there waving traffic down, and subsequently there was another fairly serious crash that was over there that actually involved entrapment. So, and this is something that needs to be addressed, and I reached out to Dave Allen, I've copied you guys on the report, on the email, and I'm gonna push this matter a little bit harder, because it's something that I've had residents out there who've been very concerned about it. One of them's been involved, they crashed themselves out there, so. The report's really detailed, shows time of day, all that stuff, and it shows that over the past 4 years, or 4 years. That there's a crash summary report in there that shows that. There's actually been an uptick in crashes, and some of the years are showing 5 crashes per year. Whereas earlier, close to the 2006, or what, the 10-year period, 2013, there were only 1-2 crashes per year. So either that section of road is getting traveled more, people not paying attention, but we have seen increases in population, so I'm sure there's more traffic counts going through there. So it's something that I think that a flashing yellow, flashing red light would be advantageous to have up there. And I talked with Chief Tracy this morning about it, and he's recommending to put a sign on this side of that hill, warning people of dangerous intersections. So I think that we need to step up what we're doing to try to help mitigate that problem.
I know there's a lot of times you go by there and you'll see some fresh black marks where somebody put their brakes on and skidded to a stop in the middle of the road, and.
It's a bad spot. I think it's the worst intersection we have in town.
So it's because people going up over the hill, like going right along, and somebody pulls out.
A lot of it though is people missing the stop sign coming up the county road. I mean, any of the crashes that I've handled out there, that's what's been happening. I mean, they'd be coming out at night. And from Waterville after an evening out, and they miss that stop sign because there's not a lot of lighting up there. It's country living. And somebody coming down on the hill.
And some of them, people coming up the county road, they have to stop the stop sign and then trying to get going again and get across the traffic that's coming up over the hill way too fast. And nails them right in the intersection. Of course, there's an ATV trail that crosses diagonally right in that intersection also.
If somebody stops for the ATV, then that creates more problems.
That might be addressed too, because I know David mentioned that an email to the safety guy. He may end up reroute that, that wouldn't surprise me.
So in the case where the state okayed it and installed the light, Oakland would pay for the light,
That's what,
probably.
Is that what they usually do? Okay, so I didn't know if where it's a state road, whether the state would pay for it or not.
yeah,
I don't know.
I know that I was quoted a price for $250,000 for traffic light coming off Shores Road up on Upper Canby. Because we've had people up there that've been concerned about not being able to come towards Oakland because of the heavy traffic on Canby. So I did talk with state over that. And they put one in and we were willing to pay for it. They weren't gonna pay for that one. I don't know how this will go with the prices for sure. I mean, I don't think we get many crashes up on Shores Road, do we? People pay attention to that.
You have anything else? Ellen?
That's all I have, Pete.
Dave?
I'm all set.
Well,
I'm good.
I don't have anything.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you, everyone.
You.
This thing down.
Stay tuned to see.